So hello and welcome to everybody. Thanks for coming. Let me find our little slides here and make them so you can see them. Thanks for coming. Looking forward to talking to you about Doom boxes. As I said, introduce yourself in the chat. Where are you joining us from? Where in the world? Could be anywhere. And what are you looking forward to learning today about Doom boxes? What are your challenges with them? And is it just you, or is there other members of the family that are having difficulties with Doom boxes? Would love to hear your thoughts. Welcome, as I say, and hello to those watching on recording. We will pop this up on YouTube, so people can comment on YouTube, and we can reply. Takes a little bit longer, but if you have any questions today, please pop them in the chat and I can answer straight away as we're going through the session today. So welcome all if you're watching live or on recording. So what would be a good result for you in relation to decluttering and organizing at home that you can focus on today? I'll introduce myself shortly. As I said, ask any questions that you have as we're going along so I can help address them. But keeping in mind what you're wanting to learn and achieve can be really helpful when we are trying to make changes in our life. So it's all about having a clear intention. What are you looking to learn today? What are you looking to learn? And if you want to comment as we're going along, that's going to help me provide that information as well. So my business Space and Time is all about making conscious choices with how we use our space and our time. And a lot of that is to do with systems to create a simpler life. So we don't want to make things more complicated. We want to make things simpler and easier to do. And we're going to talk about a lot of those special tips today in relation to Doom boxes. And I'm also going to share some other things that we're going to offer over the next couple of months leading up to Christmas, another couple of workshops we've got coming up, and also a Get and Stay Focused program, which is just a one-on-one coaching on Zoom with me. If you're finding it difficult to get some of these things done and you just need a bit of body doubling, you just need some support and accountability, I would love to do that with you, and I'll share the details about that Get and Stay Focused program a bit later in the session. Let me just have a quick look at the chat before we get on. Hello, Mary Lou. Thank you for joining us. Hello, Michael. Michael says, embarrassed to say I'm joining from Washington. This is a refresher. Awesome. No need to be embarrassed, Michael. I love meeting people from all over the world, and I have been doing this for 10 years, so there's nothing to be embarrassed about. I wouldn't have a business if people didn't need help. So I really appreciate you saying that and joining us today. Michael goes on to say, I'm retired and getting ready to dive into the Doom boxes already created and getting them out. Awesome. You've come to the right place. We will share in a group some of those things. Hello, Christine. Thank you. Dealing with things that I'm not needing anymore could be useful for someone else. Yes, I love it. It could be useful for someone else, but don't know what to do with them. We'll share some ideas there. Thank you. Excellent. Thank you so much. It's great to know where we're at and what we're looking to learn. Let me know if there's anything else that comes up along the way in the chat. So what we're going to look at today is identify why Doom boxes happen. How do we sort the contents in a Doom box? How to create permanent homes for your stuff that are in the boxes, and maintenance tips. Excuse me for checking my phone occasionally. I know that sometimes people have difficulties getting on with our links sometimes. Doesn't happen very often, but I do like to keep an eye on it, but it's all good. It's something else. So we're looking at, as I said, identifying why they happen, how to sort them, how to create permanent homes, maintenance tips to make sure you're not going to create more Doom boxes in the future. And as I said, I'm going to share a couple of things that we've got coming up to help you on your decluttering and organizing journey after today. Here I am, Julie Cliff, declutter coach and professional organizer before starting my business. As I said, my business is 10 years old. Before that, I was an executive assistant and administrator. So helping others get and stay organized is something I love to do in an office. Found a group of professional organizers here in Melbourne who I still meet with. We've got our Christmas function coming up in a couple of weeks. And I found out, as I say, 10 years ago, that this is a thing. People do go into others' homes and help them with decluttering, organizing systems, maintenance, to help them in our busy lives. Married, husband, couple of teenagers, and just let some more people in. And yes, so that is where I am at. Welcome to the people that are just joining us. Awesome to see you here. Thank you for coming. Just introducing myself and about to move on to the impacts of clutter. Now, there's no rocket science here. You would all know some of these things, but it doesn't hurt to remind ourselves what the impacts of clutter are, including stress and anxiety. And our productivity and focus can certainly be affected as well, because our brain just becomes too overwhelmed. There's too overstimulated. Everywhere you look, there's things to do, or things that we should be actioning. So that's some of the reasons we really want to try and get on top of our clutter. Another couple of things that are affected by our clutter is decreased focus and productivity. Again, there's just so much stuff going on. We can't focus and we can't be productive both at home and at work. Clutter often feels like it hangs heavy on us and we carry it out the front door with us. So it really does affect our focus and productivity, because we're just not getting to those important things, so that it really does affect our overall well-being. Our clients come to us from many different places. I did work with a minimalist just a couple of weeks ago. I've never seen such a small amount of stuff in an apartment, but it was still too much for her, still too overwhelming. We ended up still with 2 bags of stuff to get out of the house, and we went through the whole apartment just in a couple of 3 hours it was. So, but then to the other extreme where there's all sorts of things going on. So, as I said, there's no reason to be ashamed. Things often get on top of us, and we just need a hand to catch up with it again. Let me have a quick look at the chat. Thanks, Christine. She says, finding space for things I may need in the future, but not needing regularly. For example, equipment required when, my husband is sick, need to have space for them and to be able to find them easily when required, but out of the way the rest of the time. Awesome. Thank you, Christine. We will address that shortly in relation to permanent homes for things, and talking about where to store things dependent on their frequency of use. So we'll move on to that shortly. Thanks for sharing. So what is a doom box? Some of you may not have even heard the term, although since you're here, you probably have. But a doom box is a box where items are quickly thrown to hide clutter, a mix of random items with no immediate decision made, and it's a temporary fix that grows into long-term clutter. So from the research that I did, I found that the term doom box gained popularity around the pandemic sort of time. It's really referring to stashing random items instead of organizing them immediately. And from, again, the research I did, doom box stands for doom, as in didn't organize, only moved, which just stash it in a box or a bag and just get it out of the road. This is often, as I was just saying, a fast solution for managing clutter, especially those with ADHD and other executing functioning challenges, that it just seems too hard at the time, too much at the time to be able to, and not have enough time to organize it properly. Let's just get it out the road. So a few reasons that we're going to have a look at today why doom boxes happen. One is the emotional connection to items, and we're going to go into these in more detail in a second. So a emotional connection to the items, lack of time or feeling overwhelmed, and no permanent home for items. So this is just quick fixes for clutter before people come to visit and that sort of thing. So as I said, one of the reasons why doom boxes occur is the emotional attachment to stuff. And it can be quite difficult to let things go. As Christine was saying, we might use it one day, or it may certainly be something we use, but just not very often. Or we may have a really strong attachment to it, as reminds you of some happy times or a person. And those strong attachments mean it is difficult to let things go. Also, this emotional attachment might be related to guilt over gifts, like things you've been given, or heirlooms or expensive things that leads us to stashing them instead of deciding. And Christine also said about the idea of having things that are important to us, but we're just not quite sure how to manage it and how to let it go and where to donate it. We will certainly address that. And again, this emotional connection causes us delay in sorting and creating more doom box, because it just seems too hard to make a decision at the time. So we'll chuck it in a box and hide it somewhere. Another reason why doom boxes happen, or a doom box happen, is a lack of time and overwhelm. You know, we've got so much going on in our lives. We feel like there's no time to stop and sort things. So that can be one of the reasons leading to doom boxes. Organizing feels like a luxury, not a priority, and I'll deal with it later becomes a bit of a habit. And these small tasks often snowball into big piles, and finding the right home takes time and energy. And doom boxes grow when life moves faster than we can tidy. So we're going to have a look at some of these things shortly and how we can combat them. And also, no permanent home is a big one. I see this all the time, as well as those couple of other things that I've just mentioned, the emotional connection and the lack of time and overwhelm. The no permanent home is a big one. And I'm going to show you shortly the space and time organizing system. Some of you that have been on our calls before will know these 6 steps shortly. And normally setting up permanent homes for things is something we do in the 5th step. So we do a lot of work before we get to the 5th step. But I've said before when running this session, I'm almost tempted to put the permanent home part at the start, because that's often what's missing in this doom box scenario. I've tried to unpack doom boxes with people, but it's like, well, I don't know where it goes. So that's one of the stumbling boxes, but we will look at that again in a second when we're looking at the 6 steps of the space and time organizing system. So looking at no permanent homes, again, things just to get dumped in bags and boxes and in corners. It's not laziness, there's just no clear system. So we'll have a look at that. And there's no permanent space. So there's a bit of an ongoing mess. But don't worry, there is hope. We want you to have a bit of a think as we're going along. Think about some of the things that you might find in a doom box. Is where should this live and why? And this goes back to Christine's idea before of, I might use it and I probably will use it, but I'm not using it right at this second. Some of the might use it things can go. We'll talk about that in a second. But some of the things that we use seasonally or periodically, we can figure out where it should live and why. Again, giving homes is the key to some of this. We're going to have a look at the 6 steps of the system I just mentioned, and let's have a look at those 6 steps now. Don't forget to ask questions as we go along. Again, excuse me, my croaky voice. I've got a bit of a cold at the moment, but so far, so good. The words are still coming out, although the brain is a bit foggy today. So the 6 steps of the space and time system go along like this. The first step is stop the stuff. So let's look at stopping more stuff from coming in the home so there is less to manage. Let's look at the second step, your commitment to being organized, which is making time for being organized. I'll explain that a bit more in a sec. Third step, sort the stuff. Fourth step is things you no longer need. The fifth step is easy storage. That's what I was just saying before about permanent homes for our things. Very tempted, as I mentioned, to put that easy storage at the start today, but I will not. But we will talk about it when we get there. And the last step is maintenance. So how do we keep ourselves organized once we do start to get into some of this decluttering? So as I said, the first step is so important. It's to stop more stuff from coming in. It's really a good point to do an audit and to have a look at where the things are coming from. And it is so difficult to make any progress on our clutter if we've still got more coming in. It doesn't matter what it is, if it's paperwork, if it's kids' artwork, if it's crafting items, if it's sports equipment, you know, all the things that come into the front door. Let's do a bit of an audit and stop that unnecessary stuff. And as I said in that third point there, be mindful of what you're literally bringing in the front door. And to do a bit of an audit to see where that stuff is coming from and for us to be able to stop it is really important when we're talking about the doom box zones. So where are you stashing them? Is it living rooms, bedrooms, kitchens? I do see them stashed all over the place, but it's often stashed somewhere where people can't see, of course, spare room, that sort of thing. So having a bit of a think about those zones and how start to get your mind around the idea of our behaviors we might need to change to stop that from happening. And what sorts of things are gathering, as I was mentioning before, helping people start to unpack their doom boxes. You could have a bit of a look in there and say, have a see what there are, because there probably are patterns in there. So this step is all about stopping more things coming in by doing a really good audit about what's accumulating at home. So the second step of the space and time organizing system is your commitment to being organized. And I'm sorry to say there is no magic wand. I've got lots of tips today that I'm going to be sharing with you. But there isn't a magic thing that's just going to happen. It's really something that you need to put some time and energy into. Let's not worry about your wife, your husband, the kids at the moment. Let's get you sorted out and get you sorted. And then we can go from there. Hopefully, once you get yourself in some sort of order, it'll be contagious for others to want to be doing the same around the home. So one way to show your commitment to being organized is to really plan some time to get this started. And I really do mean starting to put it in your calendar, put it in your online calendar, put it in your your digital calendar, put it in your diary. Literally plan out time to get started and stick to that commitment as though you are going to a doctor's appointment or a specialist, someone like that. We need to make time to be able to start to get on top of this thing. And 10 minutes can really make a big difference. Many of my clients, whether they're online clients on the other side of the world, I'm here in Melbourne in Australia, or whether they're, wherever they might be, 10 minutes, a couple of times a day, once a day, a top drawer, just starting something small and continuing on can be really effective, rather than, doing a huge daily effort and you're absolutely exhausted and you still haven't finished it all and you lose all motivation. Small chunks are really very helpful. And another important thing to do to show your commitment to being organized is start to do what organized people do. And one of those things is that second dot point there is start by dealing with what's in your hands. So you come home from work, you've got your laptop, you've got your lunchbox, you've got all bits and pieces that you brought home from work. Put them back straight away where they should be. Put your keys where they should be. Put your sunnies where they should live, literally as you're walking through the door. And I really do try and teach my teenagers to do this. even if we're getting home late at night or after a day at footy or whatever it might be, come home, unpack your bag so that we can start dealing with what's in our hands. We're not just dumping it on the kitchen table or the island bench. We start to put things back in their permanent homes. If it hasn't got a permanent home, come up with one on the spot. Where are your keys going to live? Where are your sunnies going to go? And start to do what organised people do and start showing your commitment to being organised. And reflect your commitment in your diary or your daily planner. I think Mary Lou has a link to the daily planner. She'll pop in the chat in a second. And plot out your day. Literally put time in the calendar to start working on some of these things and figure out a good time of day for you to be doing that. The third step of the space and time organizing system is sort the stuff. And this is really just grouping like items together to get a clear view of what you've got. We're not deciding what we're keeping and what we're letting go at the moment. It's just about order and allowing your brain to see what you've got so that you can make clearer decisions. Well, that was a quick one. And that sort the stuff is really not much more complicated than that. Grouping like items together. These are my utensils at home. If we sort them out, I do have 7 vegetable peelers hiding in that jumble there. But if we will talk about actually tackling the doom boxes shortly, it would be starting to take the items out of the doom boxes, and you could even do one doom box, or you might do a couple of them, and say get all the electronic gadgets out together, all the stationery type things together, all of the, I don't know, cutlery or crockery that might have just snuck into a box because you had to do a quick tidy up one day. This sorting step is really very important to help us move along and get these doom boxes clear. Let me just check the chat. Thank you very much, Mary Lou. She has popped the link to the weekly planner there. So if you would like to jump on there and grab yourself a copy of that and print it out so that you can see what you've got coming up for the week. You can plan out your work, all the things you need to do around the house, as well as some decluttering. So far, we have gone through 3 steps of the space and time organizing system. We looked at stop the stuff, your commitment to being organized, and sort the stuff. So we've been doing a lot of stuff before we're even decluttering anything. And I think getting in that right mindset, getting into being, committed to this process is really important for long-term success. So let's look at step 4, which is things you no longer need. And the reason why it's important is that, this step can really help us clear our physical and mental clutter. It's really an important step to be able to understand the importance of letting things go so that we can have more space for those important things. So as that top point says, letting go is about making space for what's important. Sometimes my clients say that, they've just got so much stuff, they can't even tell what's important anymore. So we want to swap those priorities around and really focus on the important stuff and let go of the things that may have been important to us in the past, and really focus on the now. And some of these steps will help us, or some of these tips will help us to letting some of those things go. So some suggestions on how we can let some of those things go. Begin with the easy choices. So it might be the duplicates, like I said about the 7 vegetable peelers that we have at home. If I needed to downsize, if I didn't have room for those 7 vegetable peelers, that would be a good thing to let go. Broken items, things that can't be repaired. They're a really, some nice easy choices. We really do try our very best to recycle, reduce, reuse, all of those things. But sometimes things are just too far gone, can't be fixed, and they do need to go in the general waste. But as I said, there are lots of options before we get to that point, but start with those easy choices. If you look in a Doom box, you'll get a pretty good gut feeling as to what you want to keep and what to let go, and go with those choices. If you're still really not quite sure, hang on to it for now and come back to it. I've been working with a couple of families this year where I've been at their house a day a week for the whole year. And we're coming back to some of the spaces that we did really early in the year. And we're going, oh, okay, we decided to keep that item 6 months ago, but now we're looking at it again and going, no, we don't need it. So the second pass, or the second time around, or it might be the third time around, it might be easier. You can start to loosen your grip on your stuff and start to let some of these things go. So you might not be willing to part with it just yet, but there will be some things that nah, don't need it, doesn't fit, don't like it, reminds me of my, mother-in-law that I never liked, whatever it was. Start with these easier choices. Moving on to easy storage. As I mentioned, this is a step that I could have almost started with today, because when we're going through Doom boxes, it really often is the thing has been put in that Doom box because we don't know where else it's going to go. So let's have a look at this with fresh eyes, thinking about setting up easy storage and permanent homes for the stuff that is in those Doom boxes. So it's deliberately called easy storage because it needs to be easy, or it's not going to happen. We don't want to put the kids' artwork in a tub that is on the bottom of 3 other tubs that we need to get a ladder to get to. Some of these things, particularly these everyday items, like Christine said before, everyday items need to be easy to retrieve, easy to put back. Sometimes the things that we don't use so often, like Christmas decorations, Halloween, or some medical aids, as Christine said before in the chat, can be stored elsewhere, but we need to be pretty deliberate about it so we remember where that spot was that we've put it. You might even keep yourself a bit of a list as to where these important things are that we don't use very often. Is it in the attic? Is it in the garage? Is it in the pantry? But the whole idea of easy storage is it's easy. And it is deliberately the 5th step, as I've said a couple of times through this. I didn't start at the start of this session today and say, go down to Kmart and buy $300 worth of containers. That's not what the idea is here. We've been through all of these other steps and decluttered and let things go. And now we should have a smaller amount of stuff that we know that is important to us, and we can set up the easy storage for our stuff now. As I just said, it's deliberately the 5th step. And as we're going through and setting up the systems to help us return things to their places, we can label the boxes, we could label the shelf, we could label the container. Just make it as easy as possible for you, family members, or any outside help that you have coming in. So again, thinking about those sorts of things you've got in your Doom box, what sort of things is it likely to be? I did mention some things before that I often find in Doom boxes. Have a think about what it might be for you, and where can we set up permanent homes for those items. And don't forget, with easy storage, storage containers and items, baskets, tubs, those sorts of things are a tool. And a tool is something that helps you do a task easier. But just bearing in mind, the tools are not magic. They don't just go and suck everything back into the basket. The basket there on the right-hand side says cooking, which is quite broad. But the basket is not going to suck everything back into it at the end of the day. We need, as we've said in your commitment to being organized, we need to put the cooking things back in that tub every time we've used it, or at the end of our cooking session. There's, as I said here, containers, boxes, and baskets help us organize our things, but they are not magic. We need to continue to do what organized people do is use the item, put it back where its permanent home is. You know, put the scissors back where they live. Put your sunnies back where they go. Put your keys back where they go. And make it nice and easy so that it's, as I said, you don't have to go and get a ladder to get your keys every time. But thinking about what is easy storage for you. And the idea in this step of easy storage is just to set up that permanent home. We're not going to be making it look perfect, although we can do that later. But don't forget, we don't want our perfectionism to get in the way. At the moment, we want it to work well and efficiently. And then once it's organized, then we can make it look nice, like this pantry on the right-hand side if you really want. But just remembering the maintenance that may be involved in decanting all of these things into these pretty containers. If that's not your jam, if you haven't got the time for that type of organization, have a good think about what does being organized mean to you and what level of beautifulness do you need. I'm going to show you my laundry shortly, which is not pretty, but it works well for us. I'll tell you more about that in a second. So let's look at a couple of easy storage options. If you've got somewhere in the home that you need some specific storage for, like deep pantry shelves or narrow bathroom cabinets, that sort of thing, just go to Google or ChatGPT or some tool like that and just ask it for some help. You know, easy storage ideas for deep pantry shelves, and it'll come up some ideas. But here are a few to get us underway and how we might use them. This little container on the left is divided, perspex, keeps like items together and stops them from falling over the place. You could use something like that in all places of the home, and it can be used like a little drawer as well in a cupboard. Same as the tubs here on the right can be used as a drawer as well, rather than sticking your head in a cupboard, which is something I do most days of my organizing life. We can use it as a drawer, put like items together with all of their attachments. This is one of my drawers at home. Again, like items together in a couple of perspex boxes that come from Kmart, the ice cream making machines, and the NutriBullet bits and pieces in the top one there. This is my Tupperware at home. Again, simple plasticware, labeled, and those containers are deliberately those size for the amount of things that we use. Like, I don't use a lot of flour and self-raising flour, so they're only 1 kilo containers and only 1 kilo of flour that I buy. And I just drop the whole thing in. I don't tip it in. I just drop them straight in. This photo was taken a little while ago when my husband bought a big 10-kilo rice or something. I don't normally have that much rice at home. But again, thinking about how often do you use bits and pieces in your pantry. If you don't even eat rice, don't have a rice container. If you eat a lot of rice, have a big container. Thinking about that to help you with your shopping going forwards and help you with your easy storage of your items. Photo storage, that's a whole different kettle of fish. You can spend as much time as you want organizing digital photos, getting them made into beautiful books like this, or maybe even just sort them a little bit into boxes like this. But as I said, there's it's a whole different workshop on its own, photo storage, but there's just a couple of short ideas there. I promised you I would show you my laundry. It is embarrassing. But it's been like it. We've been in this home for 21 years. Those boxes have been labeled in those spots in this home for all of that time. It still works. They are still relevant. So my main point with easy storage, it doesn't have to be pretty, just work for you. If you wanted to, absolutely knock yourself out. Go and find a container that fits perfectly in here and label it up nicely. I just haven't made it a priority. As I say, it just works well for us. And this is the level of organized that I'm happy with in my home, but you may not be you. but you do you. You figure out what's going to work well for you. So this brings us to our 6th step of the space and time organizing system. And that is maintenance. So we've been through all these 5 steps, coming up to the 6th. So what do we do when we do, say, get our bathroom cabinet sorted, or we do get the pantry sorted? How do we keep up that maintenance? Here's a few ideas here for you. So keeping things organized is an ongoing task, not just a one-time thing. And decluttering is really just the start. The real challenge and the fun part is to maintain the order once we've sorted it out. So we want to embrace those daily decluttering habits to maintain an organized space, as we were talking about before. Start to do things that organized people do, like rather than dropping things down, putting them where they live in their permanent homes. And you can certainly make time daily, as we said in step 2, your commitment to being organized, to sort through your doom boxes every day. So the idea would be to tackle the backlog of doom boxes just by a few minutes every day, and make it something, again, that's in your calendar, and starting to tackle that backlog, but also setting up that new system going forwards that we're talking about, returning things to their permanent homes straight away after you've used them, rather than just dumping them in a box. We've also spoken a few times about using your calendar. Get that important time in your calendar to declutter and get organized. But even further than that, what are the other priorities that you are working on in your life? Are you looking to spend more time on your business, or more time in paid work, or less time in paid work, or more time on your hobbies? Use that planner that Mary Lou shared before and have a look at your whole week and plan it out. What's your ideal week going to look like, and how can we move you towards that life that you want to live with these little tiny steps that we are doing each and every day? If you want some help to move you along and continue on this maintenance, get your family involved by setting some house rules and get teamwork going. We have every night after dinner, we sit down to dinner most nights together as a family, my 2 sons, my husband and I. And as soon as dinner is done, everybody helps pack the dishwasher, wipe down the dining room table, wipe down the kitchen benches, and stack the dishwasher, I said, and empty the dish drainer. My husband is often folding the dry laundry as that is doing. So it's 10-15 minutes together. We're all involved in that teamwork and getting it done, so that it's not just falling to one person. This is a great maintenance thing to get the kids involved in, so that they are helping out as well. And seek accountability and community support for staying organized as well. So maybe you might invite a family member over to help you with some of these things, and you could do a bit of a tag team. I do know a lot of mother and daughters that do a pantry at one home, and then the next week they'll do the pantry at the other home. They sort of share and get accountability. But also you could get some professional help. I'll share shortly about my program that I mentioned about, that Get and Stay Focus program, so I can help you with online accountability. But you might want to get a professional organizer. If you're here in Melbourne, we'd love to come and help you, my team or I. But if you're overseas, there would be people in your area as well that could help you get and stay organized with your decluttering and organizing. And you can continuously adjust and adapt your organizing so that it works for you as well. I would encourage you to stop moving things around at some stage. I have worked with clients before that they go, oh, yeah, I like the water bottles there, but maybe the water bottle should go over there. Sometimes it is absolutely worth moving things around, but there needs to be a point of stopping moving things around. Let's just work with it. with that system and where they are. And I'm sure you'll get used to that, those water bottles being where you have moved them to. So just as a recap for our session today, recognize the areas where the doom boxes typically form, like where is the stuff coming from? Is it stuff being dumped from the living rooms, or is it stuff being dumped from bedrooms or kitchens? And where are those things being stashed? And what is in those boxes? We're really talking about an audit in that first step of what's in the doom boxes. Have a bit of a look. And we really want to start to make some deliberate choices about what to bring into the home. So that's the first step of stop the stuff. Just don't buy it. Don't bring it into the home. Let people around you know that you're trying to get yourself sorted out. Tell them not to give you hand-me-downs or offer you secondhand things, or they're things that you don't want. Really make those deliberate choices. And understand the emotional connections and the lack of time that leads to creating some of these doom boxes. So you might like to talk to some other people, whether it's professional help, psychologist, about your attachment to stuff, or it might just be talking to other members of your friends or families to help you figure out what those important things are and what your connections are to things. So as we said, we had a look at sorting the stuff, set dedicated time to tackling our doom boxes and putting our like items together so that we can see what we've got rather than just a box of mumbled jumbled stuff. What have we got? Put the like items together. And then we also, we decluttered, and then the idea was to set up the permanent homes for things, ensuring that everything has a designated home so that if people are coming to visit you, it's not just quickly throw it in a box. Hopefully those things aren't even accumulating anymore. We've already put it away, or we might just have a few things on the kitchen bench that need to go back to their permanent homes afterwards. So creating organised spaces eliminates the need for quick stashing and dashing in the future. As I said, it might take a little bit of time to go through the backlog, but we can really start to create a new system going forwards with some of those maintenance tips that we spoke about. And some of those things, as a recap, are incorporating regular decluttering into our daily life, keeping yourself accountable with either professional help or friends and family, and rewarding yourself for progress. Give yourself a pat on the back, sit down with a cup of tea and a bicky, or, whatever it is for you to reward yourself and be really happy with your progress. Any progress is awesome progress, so that you can keep up that maintenance. Sorry, keep up the motivation to keep going further. Let me have a look at the chat just before I go on to this program. Christine, can you get help funded by NDIS to organise a house to assist with caring for a person? Christine, sometimes yes. My business Space and Time here in Melbourne is not really working with NDIS anymore, which is the National Disability Insurance Scheme for people that are on the other side of the world. We can have a conversation offline about that, but there's also other funding support here if you are caring for somebody, through Carer Gateway, Villa Maria Catholic Homes, a few places. So maybe Christine, send me a note and let me know. We can touch base about that. Mary Lou says, my husband, my son and I are also segregating the laundry and putting it into the perspective wardrobes, excuse me. Can't get the words out. Awesome, Mary Lou. So get it sorted out, the clean washing, and then be able to get the whole family involved in putting their clean washing away. Fantastic. She also says, I love the idea of helping to minimize time and make tasks easier. Oh, yes. Got to make things easier, hey? Really great to hear, Mary Lou, that you have applied that to your family. Glad to hear it. Thank you. So I'm just going to start to wrap up here. If there's anything further you need help with, pop it in the chat now, or Mary Lou will put my email address in the chat. Ask any questions. Thank you for coming. As I said, I'm about to wrap up in a second. I'm glad my voice is kept up today. I wasn't quite sure when I got up this morning. Some of the words weren't even coming out and my brain was a bit scrambled. So I'm glad we've got through this. I hope this has been helpful in relation to reducing the amount of doom boxes that accumulate going forwards, but also some tips to be able to tackle that backlog that you've already got in the home. Remembering that it may take some time. You know, those doom boxes have taken some time to accumulate. It may take some more time to get on top of them. So let me have a look at this, and then we're going to go back to the chat and we'll wrap up. So the Get and Stay Focused 6-week program is an online program, an hour each week for 6 weeks, which fits in perfectly between now and Christmas if you want to jump on board. You and I would just jump on for added accountability each and every week. We would set you some things that you want to work on between now and then. We could work on some of those things literally while we were on Zoom like this. You could be beavering along in the background. I'm helping you get and stay focused, as the program is called. It also sending you some homework to do in between sessions and holding you accountable for that. So drop me an email if you're interested in that Get and Stay Focused 6-week program. As I said, it's on Zoom, 1 hour each week. Our next free workshop we've got coming up is in 2 weeks' time. Take the silly out of the silly season. So we're going to have a look at how can we make Christmas and the end of the year not so silly, make it what we want it to be, which should be time to spend with friends and family and enjoying ourselves rather than running ourselves ragged and in circles. So come along to that one. And just as a quick thank you for coming along today, we'd love to offer you a 15-minute clarification chat. So let's chat just for 15 minutes on Zoom and set you up for success between now and the end of the year. Thank you, Mary Lou, for all those links. Let me stop my share. Let's have a look at the chat. So those last few things that Mary Lou has put in the chat was the clarity call. Our email is there, the details for the Get and Stay Focused program, and also the link for the next workshop. Is there anything I missed? And yeah, let me know if there's anything I've missed. You can either email or pop it in the chat now. And what was the best thing that you learned today? What was the biggest takeaway that you're going to think, yeah, I'm absolutely going to do that? We'd love for you to share that with us now. Really, again, thank you for coming and being patient with my voice and some of the things not quite coming out right today, but really enjoyed your company. We'd love to hear from you. What did you think of the session? What did I miss? What could we do well or better next time? And have you got any other ideas on what you would like to see us present for next year? We do have a lot of recordings on YouTube for you to look at: kitchen, bathroom, garage, craft, all sorts of places of the home, digital. But if there's anything else that we've missed, let us know. Send us an email. We'd love to come up with some new workshops for you. Thank you all so much. Been awesome seeing you today. Look forward to seeing you at the next one. But otherwise, take care and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.